Wednesday, my dude.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday, my dudes. How are you, Pat?
Yes, my dude. Doing good. You know, I've been working a lot, so yeah.
You've been working graveyard shifts, which are, killer.
I've been working the day shift followed by a second grave shift.
Oh my
shift. Welcome to capitalism.
Yeah.
And the graveyard shift, I didn't even tell you what it's about. We're putting in basically advanced advertising surveillance in grocery stores. So it's like the carts have little RFID that identifies to the system where your cart is in the store, how long you stop at things.
Jesus.
The TV screens are going to be localized to you, and the shopping carts will eventually have a little monitor too. So
God, it's all so awful.
Yeah,
I told you when I was in high school when I was 15, and in order to get beer, it was before they would seal the beer, the 12 packs of beer or soda. And so we'd fill up our grocery cart and we'd have our 12 pack of Coke and our 12 pack of beer that was warm. And it took close to an hour because you'd have to avoid like the two cameras and slowly undo the carton and have all the Cokes come out and then all the beers. And then underneath the chips, you'd be like putting the beer into the Coke and the Coke into the beer. And then after an hour and a half of, be like roaming the grocery store, we'd go through the cashier's aisle with like two things, like with our 12 pack of Coke and one bag of chips or something. And once they went over the scanner and all the beer came tumbling out of the Coke, and I ran for the door and totally like threw my friend under the bus. I was like, Emily, and we ran to the door.
You just reminded me of a good job I had once upon a time working for a beer distributor. At the ripe age of 17 years old, it was one for you, one for me was our philosophy. So
I love it.
To Matthew Solomon's, who's our guest, who's amazing. I just watched his documentary, but someone in there talks about how, hey, what makes us different? I could be a criminal. You could be a criminal. I've been a criminal. I mean, come on.
We've all been criminals. We're just.
So if I'd gotten caught taking beer at 17, which is basically entrapment, you let a 17-year-old handle beer.
Yeah, what do you
That's
expect?
a mistake.
Yeah.
But like, if I was black and got arrested, I could be charged as an adult and end up in prison, or
lots
it's just
of white privilege in this
yes.
on this podcast.
Yes.
All right. Well, before we bring our wonderful guest on, whose documentary Reimagining Safety is brilliant, we wanted to do a quick cheers to the dock workers and labor workers in solidarity in Naples, Italy, who are demanding a general strike on October 3rd, a general sciopero, as they say, because the flotilla was just illegally intercepted, and they've started kidnapping several of the people from, I think it's from 46 different countries. They are kidnapping international citizens illegally, and very few governments are doing a damn thing. So once again, it falls to the working class and solidarity. So cheers to Naples. I hope they stay safe. Nothing should be expected good to come out of Israel. So all eyes on the flotilla, and enormous cheers to them for their solidarity. And I don't know, man. It's rough. All right, let's with that moment, we will bring on our guest, Matthew Solomon. Hello, sir. Director of Reimagining Safety, which is a fantastic documentary for anybody who hasn't seen it. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm good, all things considered. That's quite an introduction. Everything sucks. Let's bring Matthew.
I'm so sorry. That's a shitty way to start a show. It's how we start every show, because I kind of don't know how to wrap my head around all of the horrors in the world. But we try. We do. That's our mission statement, is to try to find some joy and community while we're here, 3 times a week. So
my friends and colleagues and I, it's always like all things considered. Like we add that onto the end of everything, and it's just where we're at. Yeah.
It is where we're at. We want to show a trailer for the documentary, but it's 2.5 minutes. So we just wanted to make sure that if you wanted to introduce it in a way that you might before we disappear and watch the trailer, how you came to this project, if you want to kind of give a little history about that.
Yeah, sure. So Reimagining Safety, it's a documentary on alternatives to policing and incarceration. And it in 2020, I went back to school. Everything shut down, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything. I'm a product of having been born and raised and grown up in Los Angeles. And, I went to very integrated, diverse schools. And so my worldview and cultural awareness at an early age was that my Black friends from South Central and my Latino friends from East LA, had very different lived experiences than I did, but we all hung out. And there were those differences. And it wasn't until when I went to college the first time, I was a music student at USC, but I was taking sociology classes because I was like, why are things the way they are? And so literally I got the terminology for systemic racism in 1991, 92, right as the Rodney King beating happened and the LA riots. And then there was like the Rampart scandal and OJ and like all of this stuff. So, it shaped my worldview, my cultural awareness. I was always involved in social justice in some way or another. I got into filmmaking, doing scripted films, started working in conflict resolution just because I've always been passionate about people and relationships and how we can be better, for each other. And so when 2020, COVID happened and everything shut down, I went back to school. And that George Floyd was murdered, and we had the BLM uprisings. And I literally was like, how are we still doing this? This at that point, it was, 7 years after Trayvon Martin was murdered. It was 20 something years after Rodney King. I'm not a mathematician, but decades later, like, how are we still doing this? And so really the focus of my master's in public administration coursework was on abolition. And I was reading Mariame Kaba and Angela Davis and Alex Vitale and Gio Mar. And so when it came time to do my final thesis, one of my academic advisors was like, we know you know how to write a paper, but I know you're a filmmaker. Why don't you do something creative and do a documentary? And I laughed because I was like, that's a lot of work. I have 3 months. And so luckily, she was like, well, do it anyway. And so I filmed it on my iPhone. I interviewed 10 people. It was an academic piece. So I wanted a variety of perspectives. Everybody had to be at least on the same page that we need changes, not reforms, but like real systemic change. And so, 10 people, like prosecutors, activists. Gina Viola ran for mayor in 2022 on a abolitionist platform. Nikki Black is a sociologist from Inglewood. So, all of these perspectives. And so I put it together and, I got an A.
I would have given you an A too.
But most importantly, I did a screening for a group of activists and USC law students and some friends and family. And they were like, people need to see this. This is really good. It covers a lot of ground. It's accessible. It's digestible. And so I did what they did with Paranormal Activity, which is I started reaching out to people to have community screenings and living room screenings.
Right.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so coming up Tuesday, October 7th, we're going to have our 100th screening.
That's amazing.
And
that
so
is fantastic.
100 screenings, great. 50 cities across the U.S., over 130 community organizations, you know, in cities all across the U.S. have hosted screenings. So really proud of that part.
And I just want to say, for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, don't be discouraged by him mentioning he shot it on an iPhone, because it's so polished and professional. That's amazing that you did that.
Yeah.
It looked as well produced as any document I've ever seen. So
truly
appreciate it.
And it's widely available to rent or buy online also, if you're not able to get to the screening. But, you know, I saw you on Revolutionary Change with Jen Perlman and Pete Hager. It was fantastic. And we love them. And, you know, we do a lot of cross-pollinating. Yeah. And I realized I'd seen a lot of clips from your film over the last couple years already. So it's permeating, and the ideas certainly are permeating, but it is really, I think, so important to have the film with the ideas, because I think a lot of people, even though, you know, like Mariam Kaba is brilliant and Angela Davis, I think a lot of people, it's helpful to have it synthesized in something more easily sort of tangible than sitting down with a book. That it's a great introduction for people to go delve deeper into. You had so many fantastic people in the film.
Yeah. Somebody asked me, we did a screening in Montclair, New Jersey early on, and somebody was like, why did you make a film instead of writing a book? And I was like, I have a stack of books. Like people aren't gonna, for the most part, sit and read, you know, one book, let alone, you know, 10 or 20 on the set. But you can watch just under an hour and a half film. And then get involved in your community organization and get in like reading groups and learn more that way. Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's such a call to action. Pat, if you have something else to say, and then we should show the preview for everybody. Oh. I love it when he's muted.
Am I still muted?
No, there you are. No. There you are.
I'll wait till we show the clip, but there's a lot of it that I really appreciated. I liked specifically that you brought in the sociology to it, because that needs to, you know, how the public reacts to things is very important, and our human nature is sort of described by the sociology element to it. But
all right, so here is the trailer for Reimagining Safety.
America has never been a place where we had democracy and equality and freedom and liberty for all and justice for all, and all we have to do is get back to that.
Race in this country has never really been removed from the political dialogue.
Because we won't reckon with our past, because we will let older people say, oh, that's so old, and you know, let's not talk about that anymore. Slavery was so long ago. We haven't had it for 200 years. This is, you know, not realizing that we never reckoned, we never repaired any of it at all.
Police are violence workers. You know, we've been sold this false choice of policing or nothing, which has been used to terrorize people into accepting policing, when there's a whole long list of things that they would rather have that they know would help address the problems in their communities.
When we say abolish the police, we are saying we do not want policing as we know it to exist anymore.
What people don't realize when we're talking about abolition is that we're really talking about the fact that we want you to be a decent person, that it's going to require that you relate to people.
We created a report, and it's called Defunding the Police, Defining the Way Forward for HRM. Like, the myth is that we need all these people in jail while they'll be running around the streets, and that's not true. So I really try to shift us from believing that defunding is radical to recognizing that what is actually radical is investing billions of dollars into policing. So, like, not agree that defunding the police is this radical lefty, like, communist Marxist, whatever, that is actually practical, it's good social policy, it makes sense, and here's a roadmap to it.
This is not some kind of abstract utopian envisioning. This is a very practical programmatic intervention.
When you begin to think differently and you begin to look at people through the eyes of the humanity in all of us and sort of that love for humankind, your thinking and your approach to the work starts to be very different.
Bravo. It's so good. It brings up so many different points, and the science is there that police don't prevent crime. Mm-hmm. They rarely solve crime. They don't make us safer. So, Alec Katsanis always says it's like climate denialism to say we need more police to make us safer. It's like that's in Congress, actually. That's not an effect of getting more police.
Yeah, like in the movie, you bring up the LA police budget, for example, that it went up 50% in roughly 10 years. And in 10 years, how much safer are you? Are you 50% safer? We know you're not.
Yeah. And the rhetoric you hear every night on the news is, oh, we're not safe. We need more cops. We need more cops. Between LAPD, so LAPD's budget is like $3.4 billion, something like that. The sheriff's department, LA County Sheriff's, is like 3.6, so we're spending close to $8 billion on just those two agencies. That's not even, Beverly Hills or Torrance or, all the smaller incorporated, cities within LA County. That's a lot of money. And then there's this commercial now. I don't know, Lila, if you've seen it, where the Prop 50 thing,
right?
And it's like the people against Prop 50, which is Kevin McCarthy, which I was like, oh, I thought he was gone, but he's back. But in the commercial, they're like, oh, with the money on this election, we could hire 4,000 teachers or 2,000 cops, and so literally they're saying, cops get twice as much as teachers, 3 times, if you include their pensions and things like that. But that's what we're doing, and it's not making us safer. There was actually out of Sacramento, there was a report that came out last year that somebody had sent me that the state did, where police are actually doing less work, but crime rates and everything have gone down. So, like, there is no correlation between more police and safety.
Truly, there's not. And yet the media, the news media, and I hadn't realized this, that there were whole departments in each police department that are not only dedicated to PR, but to actually producing packages they then hand off to these news stations to say exactly what they and commercial real estate want them to say. So shoplifting is way up, and we heard this whole spate of shoplifting in Walgreens and Target, and we have to close all of them. And then it came out, oh no, actually that wasn't really true. There wasn't actually even that, but they got what they wanted, which was increased budget for the police to produce more of these scare tactic, PR propaganda campaigns, and also to militarize these cops who look like, they get so mad that we are calling them Gestapo as though we're the ones who are,
right.
As if labeling them appropriately is the problem and not their actions.
Yeah, it's funny about that too, the militarization, because, whenever you see, before I started on my abolitionist path, I knew some cops in various agencies, and, we hung out, and, family members and friends and things like that. And whenever they would do trainings, like the Uvalde, they would post pictures of them like, oh, we just did our firearms training, or we just did our martial arts thing.
Right.
And at one point I was like, how come you never take pictures if you're doing de-escalation trainings? Like, why don't, where's that picture?
Yep. Where are they?
Yeah. Not that they're doing much of that, but that's what they're proud of, right? That's what they want to show off is the guns and the fighting, and it's the culture.
It is, in that the fear that's pumped into police officers, like every day you get to come home alive. It's a lucky day. It's the most dangerous job. And of course, it could be, especially if you escalate confrontations with peaceful protesters, but it doesn't even make the top 10 of the most dangerous jobs.
Yeah, it's like 15. I think 15 or 16.
Yeah. Like more cops died of COVID in 2021 and 2022 than any other, altercations with the people they're supposed to be serving and protecting.
Yeah.
So can you, I think most of our audience understands, but can you explain your version and what you would call for as far as defunding the police, what that looks like?
Yeah. I'm an abolitionist. I've, not only have and I still I'm new to abolition. I can, like within the last 5 years now, all through the 20 teens, I was definitely like, oh, this needs to be reformed. There needs to be better training. But then really seeing that there's not an interest in reform or better training as far as de-escalation and dealing with the public. Like there's a former police officer, Hadia Kennedy, who's in the film. And, she's talking about the training and the mindset. And I asked her at one point on camera, I said, so they don't really teach you how to deal with people? And she's like, yeah, not really. So realizing that there wasn't an interest in that, seeing in 2020, the, worldwide call, right, to stop killing Black people. And the response was, oh, we got to, get rid of critical race theory and DEI and, increase the budgets. Like nobody was really defunded. There were a handful of departments, like literally less than 10 departments across the country that lowered their budget for like a year, but then overcorrected the following year.
And they even pitch increasing the budget to reform the police. So it's like it's a trap in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And one of the things that I know from somebody in Marissa Barrera in Sacramento, who has an organization called Voices of Strength that supports impacted families with navigating the legal system to get justice for their family members who have been murdered. Her brother Michael was murdered 8 years ago by Sacramento PD. A lot of times in those settlements that the families get, there's a portion of their settlement that has to go to the police department for training. So the families don't even get, like, if it's $300,000, like, a percentage of that goes back into the police.
And training. It's paid for by taxpayers. Like she's paying into the very issue, the problem, the people who slaughtered her son.
Yeah.
And then it goes right back into them. Like, yeah.
So, my version of abolition, which I'm aligned, with two things. Mariam Kaba talks about if we took half of the police budget and put it into supportive services, housing, food, job training, mental health support, all the things that we know when people have those resources, the things that we label crime goes down, then like it's a process of transitioning away from this punishment system, this policing system into caring for one another. I'm also, I come from the Black radical tradition, Black revolutionary tradition, and having toured the country, the last 2 years and been in community with people and organizations and people who've been impacted, like we can't rely on the system. We have to divest from the system as much as possible. And so I was in Miami a month or so ago, and there's a place called the Freedom Lab, which is like a co-working space for activists. And attached to that is Doctors Within Borders, which is a totally free medical clinic where they do everything except for surgeries, but it's not, they don't get funding from, the city or the state, like it's through donations, but it's free to the community. They have violence, responders that go out instead of, instead of police. So that's what I saw in Miami. I know there's stuff like that in Sacramento. There's stuff in New York. There's the One Hood, which is an organization that does community response. Unfortunately, we probably do need some sort of armed something for certain things, but it's like minuscule, compared to what we what we use police for now. So I'm very much like, we need to get rid of it, but I'm also practical in that it's a transition. And the other part is, which gets talked about in the film, is our mindsets. We're socialized into this mindset of punishment and revenge and things like that versus care, and what, what does my neighbor need? What does this person need? How do we take care of each other? How do we practice restorative justice? So it's a process for all of us. It's not just a matter of getting rid of police, because if we get rid of police, that vacuum is going to be filled with some other punishment.
Yeah, especially if we don't invest in community care, and then absolutely.
Well, a lot of examples of all this in the movie, but I really liked I forget her name, the woman who's wearing the yellow sweater. She was talking about what may have radicalized her somewhat was 10 years ago, there was a call for a neighbor who was mentally ill, had an episode, and her example brings it home to community in that, all they knew to do was call the police, who ended up murdering him.
Yeah.
And if that was a phone call to a family member first, this situation could have been avoided, or to, if we had other departments that handled these kind of calls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also I thought the restorative justice aspect that, the question that people always ask is, well, what do you do with a mass murderer or, somebody who's a rapist? And, we know so many of the rape kits end up just rotting on a shelf somewhere anyway. Also, the way victims of sexual assault are treated is often like a second traumatizing event. And the focus that's put on just throwing somebody in a cage doesn't actually help there's no process of healing also for the victims of some of these crimes. And then third, I just always want to say is mass murderer war criminals still get to walk around, like George W. Bush and Biden, and like people who commit many more times murders. We've somehow have figured out a way, and not that I think that should be acceptable, but it is interesting that where our focus is, which crimes we focus on over and over and over again. I thought you did such a great job of bringing out all these different aspects to kind of make people reimagine what it would be like not to walk around with, militarized cops everywhere.
Yeah. And that, also, as you were saying that, police are big perpetrators of sexual assault and violent crime on and off the clock.
Yes.
And so it growing up with this idealized version of, these are supposed to be these righteous, virtuous people who are there to help us. And then realizing, no,
yeah,
it's not like that.
Yeah. Just want to thank really quickly. He popped up when it first came in. Thank you, Emma Spark. Solidarity for the super chat. Thank you so much. I thought also the evolution of Dr. Jody Armour was really interesting, because I think the whole idea of reform, I think most of us have moved beyond that. It doesn't work, as you said. We've been talking about it. It's like a two-state solution for Israel and Palestine. It just feels like another time stoppage to allow the police to get more funding and more militarized. And I thought his journey was sort of summed it up really, really beautifully. If you don't mind if we play that as well.
Sure.
I journeyed from reformer to revolutionary when it comes to criminal justice matters. I started as a reformer thinking that, we're talking about bad apples, and that's how I initially kind of processed the problem. Even going back to Rodney King, you could look at those officers beating Rodney King as bad officers. There were 4 of them who were tried in Simi Valley, even though there were a lot of other officers standing around watching the beating going on as well. But you could still call that a bad apples issue. And taking it forward now to the Black Lives Matter movement, which was taking the Rodney King incident, even the videotape, police misconduct part, but now you have it going on with the cell phone, and here comes the procession of hashtags. And with each hashtag comes another reform. I remember it vividly. You know, we'd see a hashtag and it would involve a police officer shooting someone who was running away. And we say, more training, better training, that'll help to prevent that. Then we see another police officer do something egregious. And we say, well, that might have to do with community policing. We need to take a community policing model. And then there'd be another atrocity, and we say, well, body cams certainly would help to solve a lot of those issues. Implicit bias training. We went through one after the other until we got to the George Floyd case.
Yeah, I don't know if we oh, there we go. Yeah, that's it just feels like it's not just treading water, it's gone backwards. And because now we have people very openly saying horrific, racist, sort of gleeful boasting about how they are treating people who aren't even being charged with a crime.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, when we talk about going backwards, it's kind of the way it's always been. I think we're just more aware of it. You know, we police came out of slave catchers. You know, that was originally what police were. Right. You know, they also, that was in the South. In the North, they were suppressing protests, right? So putting down labor movements and things like that. And then out here in the West, they were vigilantes. You know, so as the colonizers came out here and pushed indigenous people, you know, off the land and, you know, built ranches, right? The vigilantes were the ones who were protecting, you know, their
property
ranches
and capital.
you know, and so, and it's interesting because Nikki Black in the film, there's a section where she talks about, you know, how police were invented for the sole purpose of enslaving, imprisoning, and capturing. And I remember, you know, I did this film end of 2022. And when she said that, and when I edited it in, I was like, wow, that's a really powerful, provocative statement. I can see that. And that's really like kind of pushing an edge. And now, you know, 3 years later, I'm past that, you know, where it's like I knew she was right, but it was just like where that fit into like my comfort zone, you know, is really interesting, especially seeing like ICE in, you know, and everything that's happening there. It's like, yes, they are literally kidnapping and then enslaving. And, you know, there's a new film that I'm finishing, Seeds for Liberation, which talks about the Free Palestine movement and then its connections with Black liberation, Chicano liberation, and collective liberation. And so I interviewed Ernesto Ayala, who is a leader with La Raza Unida Party here in LA. And so like I interviewed him, he's amazing. His father worked with the Palestinian liberation movement, you know, back in the 80s.
Right.
But the day that I was going through his footage and taking notes was the day that he got abducted by ICE. And he's born and raised here in Pacoima, you know, and then he was disappeared for 2 days. Nobody knew where he was.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Can I ask, wait, when was that? How long ago was that?
Which part?
He was arrested and disappeared?
I want to, a month to 2 months ago. It's pretty recent. Yeah.
Just because so many of the things, and I mean, it certainly is heightened now under Trump, but so many of the lawsuits that come forward, you know, will show that like they're getting attention now, both because Trump is in power and also because he rips the mask off of everything. And it just is so much more grotesque, but the complaints in these lawsuits go back years. So, you know, like the forced hysterectomies in ICE, whatever cages, encampments. Those, you know, those started in 2014. There was a person who is just now starting another lawsuit, and it goes back 2 years. It was happening under Biden, being beaten by guards or being sexually assaulted, and a trans woman put into the men's facility, things like that. And so I think it's a real mistake to not see it as a bipartisan effort to protect capital and to crush any resistance movements, which is why we're seeing cop cities spring up all over the country.
Yeah, 83 and counting. I just saw, so I was in Hershey, Pennsylvania, like 3 or 4 months ago. We did a screening in Harrisburg, and they drove me by. There's a cop city in Hershey at the time that they said was a $300 million facility, and then I just saw a post from Stop Cop City Hershey yesterday or the day before that it's now $387 million for that facility.
So they can enact some reforms in there.
Yeah, right.
Jeez.
Right. And then, Stop Cop City in Atlanta, which, is the first one that really gained, notoriety. And I interviewed 2 of the Stop Cop City folks in Atlanta for the new film, which I'm really excited about.
That's great.
But that was originally like a $90 million facility that's now, I think, 130, and they collected signatures to get a ballot measure for folks to vote, for it or against it. And they had them signatures, and, the mayor of Atlanta said, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah. So then what, they leave us no avenue to voice our dissent. And then you protest.
Which is where it comes back to needing to fund more police to squash the protesters. And it's a vicious circle. And that's why they link, you talk about the police exist to prop up the status quo a lot in the movie. And we all understand that. But violence against property is considered violence. Like it's a new theme lately.
Yeah.
For that reason.
Yeah. And always, I mean, like seriously, always, right? Like that's what you always hear about. You hear about people looting, like where, we don't talk about wage theft. We don't talk about pollution as, you talk about in the film, where our focus is and how it's heightened. And if we were constantly just saying, this is the, leader of Pfizer and, welcome to the program. He's working really hard to prevent Medicare for all. Welcome. Why don't you think, or something like just, you have to, they're never asked to explain why so many of us have to live in misery because of their social murder. That somehow is just accepted.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, with the ICE protest that happened, a little bit ago, like even on the news, they were calling shutting down the freeway violence,
Right.
So it's like, they're like, now I just roll my eyes, but it's like violence, anti-Semitism, like all of these words just get thrown around haphazardly, and so they don't really have any meaning, and it's clearly propaganda because what's called violent in one, like you said, violence against a building is violence, but the cops aiming their less lethals directly at reporters is not considered violence. That's like
and hitting them,
whatever.
Injuring them, having protesters lose eyes,
and journalists. And she actually even died. I can't remember her last name. A journalist who was covering the George Floyd protest got a less lethal rubber bullet, whatever, which can do serious damage to her eye, lost an eye, and has since passed away. And so, I mean, once again, our media is so complicit in this. And that imperial boomerang, as Zainab said earlier, is, we see the same tactics that the IDF uses on Palestinians. We see our cops who go train with them, use them here. We know that there's a little Gaza in the West Bank where they train IDF. I'm sure that was, the inspiration for our cop cities. And it doesn't seem to matter how much the people, the voters, the constituents are against this. And as you said, they put it up for a vote in Atlanta and then overrode it. So
collected signatures, like they wouldn't even put on the ballot, but they had more than enough signatures to put on the ballot. But yeah, it's all and unfortunately enough people are not affected and don't care, or are comfortable enough and don't care, or they like what's happening. And so it's but we're also not informed and educated. I interviewed Daruba Ben Wahad for Seats for Liberation, and he was original Black Panther. He was part of the Panther 21 who were wrongfully incarcerated by COINTELPRO. He got his sentence overturned. He started the Black Liberation Army with Assata Shakur. Shout out to Assata Shakur, rest in power.
Yeah.
You know, and he's been basically living in Ghana, you know, for the last 20 years or so. But I had the opportunity to interview him, and literally, this isn't in the film, but I love that he said it this way. He's like, Americans are the stupidest people on the planet when it comes to political education. And I don't even mean that as a dig, and he didn't need it because it's a fact. You know, and if it weren't for the Panthers and Assata Shakur and mentors of mine, you know, who really connected the dots, you know, when I'm sitting here going like something doesn't add up, and then you hear Kwame Ture say, you know, in order for nonviolence to work, your opponent has to have a conscience, and you know, the United States has none. I think James Baldwin said that also, but you know, it's like, oh yeah, that's right, that's what we're dealing with. And people don't want to be real about what we're dealing with and how, you know, how it's just immersed like that.
Yeah, I mean, if we could vote our way out of this, they would not allow us to vote, right? Like, so.
And just like you said, you know, your movie's title, Reimagining, Reimagining Safety. Well, you know, in many ways, it does lobby for the ground up, bottom up kind of community care, but you have to have the vision to see an alternative to this situation also, which you provide. And in a lot of ways, you know, your Doctors Within Borders, that's a big piece to me, because so many Americans are scared of protesting or changing things or standing and fighting in the streets, because if you lose your health care, your family is doomed, you know? So an alternate healthcare system could go a long way to me, to all these issues.
Yeah.
And just a whole parallel ecosystem, which is what the Black Panthers were doing, right? Like providing food and education and medicine and community service. There was a video, I forgot to pull it, but on the Flotilla, showing how it's a complete communal project on each boat, you know, and there's just something so beautiful about that. And I think this country, because of capitalism, has been so propagandized to believe you can just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and, you know, the meritocracy, and you can do it if you just work hard enough. And yeah, there are a couple of models of that, but systemically, that's not how this country or any country could work. There's no way for individuals. I mean, that's, you know, it's put the 5 fingers together to make a fist, right? There's no way to have the power just on individual bases. But the imagining the different model, and it's just amazing to see all the corporate media every time they interview anybody, whether it's Gascon or, oh gosh, my brain is losing me, but up in San Francisco, who they got rid of.
Chesa
Boudin. You know, the same thing they're doing with Mamdani. And like, you really have to have a good response to all of the accusations they lob at how you're not tough on crime, because the whole system, both parties, the ruling elite, is very into controlling this narrative.
Yeah. And I think it was Kimmy who made the comment about we're all propagandized, and we continue to be propagandized. You know, I had, you know, I was working with publicists the first year and a half of, you know, that we were traveling with Reimagining Safety, and they couldn't, and they were, you know, pretty well connected. They could not get any sort of mainstream media to interview me or to talk about the film. And literally off the record, somebody was like, yeah, we don't touch defund. And they were like, it's not just about that. It's about more than that. But it's like, Pat, like you were saying, the community part, which is also why the encampments, you know, the pro-Palestine encampments were so dangerous, because that's when, you know, we weren't really hearing much about protests, but when that started, and then the college campuses and, you know, their donors and the police got weaponized against students, because those encampments were communities. They weren't just protesting, they were feeding each other, they were learning, you know, the political education that was taking place. You know, they were building solidarity. I interviewed Chuck Modiano who's a DC journalist. And there was a DMV encampment that was like all the seven local universities all came together.
Right.
Not only were those universities there from DC and Maryland and Virginia, but Chuck talks about this, how the street like the street protesters, the street activists were involved in those encampments too. Because usually they're, college protests are separate from the street ones, but they were all, so it became very dangerous to the establishment, and that's why they had to start shutting those down.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right that most primarily white privileged people don't see this as affecting them yet. But I feel like this is all happening so much faster than I thought the acceleration would happen with Trump. Yeah. We're seeing very white looking women with red hair and American accents getting thrown to the ground by, nurses who just come out of a shift. And I think, Jewish professors who are losing their jobs at Cornell for talking the truth about the genocide and Palestine, people who've been there for 20 years. We're seeing people being affected at a really rapid rate. And I have to hope that it's all going to sort of come together and people realize like those ice cages are not built for immigrants. Actually, we're all going to end up there. Like the data mining at your social media. Every time I say globalize the intifada, oh, you're Jewish, you're not a real Jew. I mean, I have Pete Hegseth telling me I'm not a real Jew, like that kind of thing is happening at a very fast rate. So I think even people who have enjoyed a certain amount of privilege are quickly going to realize how, insecure that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's going to take it happening to some fairly big people, just like with AIDS. Like it didn't matter to Reagan until it was Rock Hudson. It's like,
right.
Yeah. An abundance of escalation. Yeah, that's what we need. Exactly.
Sorry. And I was having a conversation with a colleague earlier today who she was saying, there's this global awakening, and I'm kind of in and out of, like, I used to be very, very hopeful and all of that. And I've had that rocked, the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But I was like, really, global awakening, how do you see that? And she's like, well, like you were saying, Lila, like there are people who are getting affected now who thought that they were immune from that. And so, and they're asking, what do we do? And so, so fortunately, there are folks who know what to do because they've been doing it for hundreds of years.
Right.
And, especially for the white folks, we have to be like, it's not my place to lead this. Like, tell me where you need me and what you need me to do, because you all know a lot better than I do what needs to happen.
Not to go back, but I really liked in the movie the discussions about restorative justice, and when you talk about hope and being kind of depressed and powerless, we are in many ways, and not looking to positive stuff. We do have some positive examples of restorative justice being implemented in cities, which we didn't have in the past. And I really like the hybrid system where in some cases you're giving the plaintiff or whoever brought the claim the option to choose that track. I think that's an acceptable way to sort of wedge in some of these policies.
Right.
Yeah. It's cool. My kids, I have high school age kids, and their high school has a restorative justice center.
Oh, wow.
So there are.
That's cool.
Yeah, but and then I'm like, oh, do you ever go there? And they're like, no. but knowing that it exists and it's part of it.
Can I ask? I'm not trying to dox anything, but is that a private or public school?
No, it's a public school.
Is it? That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really phenomenal, actually.
Yeah.
Because if people can get past that idea of the need for, vindictiveness and revenge, which I think is, I think a lot of us do feel some of that. I'm feeling it in big ways towards certain groups of people right now. But I think that's really such an empowering, different path to take. That's great.
Yeah. And it's, it's a process. Like I didn't mention this. I work in conflict resolution. I teach conflict resolution. I'm very skilled at it. And I have those moments too, like it's just something that we're programmed with, we're propagandized with. It's part of our culture. Like even like, don't tread on me. Like, or so it is something that we have to work on constantly. Like there's not a point where I reach anti-racist, decolonize. Like, there's not that point,
But you have to work on it to be seething with hatred and racism also, right? So like, I mean, I think that is something that certain groups of people really instill in their young people at an early age. So the hope is that the opposite can also be true, that it's a practice, but you can keep working on it. Just, I mean, as Mariam Kaba says, that hope is a discipline. Like, I think it's important to put that out there. Like, it's not easy. It's not fantasy land. It is a discipline with concrete steps. I love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it's, it's interesting. I was having a conversation similar to this, and I was realizing it's not necessarily hard work, but you just have to be committed to it. And you just have to be like, you know what? Yeah, I care about people. I care about the impact I have on people. So because of that, I'm going to develop this part of me, and so it's not like, it's not like the PhD program I'm in now, where I'm having to like read and write all these papers. It's not even like that. It's just it's a practice, right? Like anything.
I mean, Jen Perlman, I am there with you. Thoughts that come into my head, I cannot say out loud. I cannot say them out loud. So I am do as I say, not as I do right now, because I am so filled with rage. And
rage is appropriate.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be enraged. It's appropriate to be enraged. That rage fuels actions that need to be taken. Like, there's this idea that, we'll just step into this new reality, or we'll ascend to whatever. But no, we actually have to like go through like this process.
Yeah.
And, it's gonna be brutal. But if it wasn't for the rage, we wouldn't be moving the needle.
Right.
And I do think we are moving the needle, and I do think people are waking up and realizing things, but it's hard because we're fighting against this constant, influx of stuff telling us that we're not to believe what we've been seeing.
It's just stunning, the dishonesty. The Hasbara. It's just incredible. Pat, do you have any other questions? I realize that we've had Matthew here for such a long time. So anything more to add or ask?
Not really in questions, but I did just want to encourage everyone to watch the movie. It really gives you a core foundation of the concepts of restorative justice and why it's needed, why human behavior, and how the cops are funded and their origins. The system isn't going to reform itself, and the movie makes that clear. So what do we need? We need an alternative system, which involves community and restorative care. And the movie is brilliant in that respect.
It really is. It's so great. And all of the in the YouTube description, it's links to all the different places that the movie is showing. Also a link to Seeds for Liberation. And I know that you have your 100th screening coming up next Tuesday.
Yeah.
I am so sorry I won't be able to be there, but I will be there in spirit. And I wish you so much luck. Please keep us informed when you have anything else going on, when Seeds for Liberation comes out. And we wish you all the best. It's really a remarkable movie. Thank you for doing this work.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks to everybody who's watching. All powers to the people.
Yes, absolutely. Cheers. Take care, Matthew. so it's such a fantastic film. And the imagining part of it, I think, is also really important because people are always like, oh, what, you think we could have a world with no cops? It was like, I don't know. We have a world with cops on every inch of every part of our cities wearing masks, and they're on, Kevlar and shooting out into crowds in their military vehicles. So that's radical. Like, that didn't happen without somebody imagining that we could go from, what's his name, Andy, the little town sheriff guy, Mayberry. You go from Mayberry, which was also bullshit anyway, but like from that idea to what we have now, which they don't even pretend to want to get along with the people they're supposed to protect and serve. But that took an imagination, a disgusting one, but like an imagination of how do we get to a part where everybody's so fearful, completely surveilled, completely controlled. So thank you.
And these cops making 3 times what teachers do is just beyond the pale. It's such a pox on our system that we're paying cops 3 times what teachers get.
Disgusting. It's disgusting. Yeah. All right. Let's what should we do? Are we spinning the wheel?
Well, if you ask, we have to. Well, we should thank our heroes and shit.
Oh yeah,
we skip that part. Let's do that, and then we'll spin the wheel and get to some other news.
Okay, sounds good. Both pushing the button. Yep.
Eddie, Brett Boyle, Zini, Gimme, Nicole, not sure.
Robert S.
Chaotic Neutral, Scurvy Pelican. What is his name?
Look at all that. Look at all these people, our pup heroes and cheerleaders.
Will's Pickles Star.
Self-care, Maven Cat. All right, thank you guys, and cheers. No matter what, I'm gonna refill my wine.
Here.
All right, let's get this going. One second. Okay.
Yeah, baby.
Let's just see. Whoa, this one's almost empty. Oh, all right.
Well, I watched this and what it means to movie.
I'm still going to fill this up, but I just need to close this out. Calling an audible on that.
Who are we injecting?
We got, yeah, let's do James Baldwin.
There we go.
When the Israelis pick up guns, or the Poles, or the Irish, or any white man in the world says, give me liberty or give me death, the entire white world applauds. When a black man says exactly the same thing, word for word, he is judged a criminal and treated like one.
That's so weird. It just disappeared. What happened? It cut it off. I feel like we deserve another one, especially because also we forgot to do the intro. So we're going to do the intro. We're going to show another one.
In Japan, we don't say, of course Israel has the right to exist and has the most moral army in the world, and October 7th and Hamas and the Human Shield and McDonald's and Coca-Cola, yum yum, and my favorite Israeli cuisine is pizza. We say,
Love that. Need it. Love it. Love it. Yeah, my favorite Israeli food is pizza. I know, James Baldwin, I'm so sorry that clip got cut off. But it's it's brilliant. It's so true. It's always the people who are revolting against the systemic violence. And to see Pete Hegseth with all of his white supremacist tattoos all over the place and don't tread on me and all of the, revolution and then have him go talk to those generals. What a shit show. I mean, seriously. Oh my God.
And, you know, they didn't even agree with him. It was a please clap moment.
It was such a please clap moment.
Yeah, they're just shocked. Like, are we just a racist white police force now? Is that what we are?
I mean,
openly. Open
like, if you have to ask. Yeah, should we start with that part of everything?
Yeah.
All right, might as well. So we know that Hegseth called all of the generals from around the world, right? From around the world. Is that right? US generals.
He called them all back. I mean,
yeah, called them all back. And people weren't sure if it was going to be because we're going to invade Venezuela or because, you know, we're basically attacking Russia by helping rearm Ukraine, or if it's because of the flotilla and it's going to be, you know, an international emergency. No, it was to fat shame a group of generals and also tell them to ignore the rules of engagement and to come fight back in US cities where they should train and use their military expertise on US citizens, which is 100% illegal.
It's really wild to think at the top down level, they're judging their top generals on their fitness. Like, do you want the guy in there who's got the sharpest brain for strategy and, you know, deployment, or do you want somebody who's in shape at that level? Like, that's irrelevant to that job. 100%.
I mean, it's just like the level of incompetence, arrogance, and like just the audacity of this administration is really stunning. But yeah. Okay. So should we
roll any of them.
All right. We'll start with Trump. Trump talking to them.
I thought would be met with fury on the left, but they're sort of giving up. I must be honest with you. They've had it. They've had it with Trump. They've been after me for so many years now. Here we are. Here we are. Come to the White House anytime you'd like. No, they've given up. They're bad, a lot of bad people. But all over, that's been so popular. It's been very popular. I really thought that we were going to have to sort of fight it through. There's been no fight. There's been no fight.
Sorry, that was totally my fault. That was his take on Democrats. He's 100% correct. What a travesty, but I didn't want to have to stop that and then rewatch it again later in the show.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Sorry about that. Woo.
I mean, obviously the accuracy there about Democrats is completely correct, but it's disgusting to use the pulpit in front of all the generals to be political about this situation. Like, it's just, what are we doing? I mean, this is the guy that Democrats can't beat. This is the party that is going to possibly gain seats in the midterms. I don't think so, but it's not beyond
it's a possibility because of how absolutely complicit the Democratic Party is and has no fight, and he'll just say it in front of all these Democrats. But the reason, I mean, he does so many things that are against the law and unconstitutional. If Democrats really wanted, they could be fighting against him and make the case for impeachment from the get-go. But obviously they don't make a case for anything. But part of the reason he did that about the left is because they have decided, in spite of all data to the contrary, that they're using the death of Charlie, or the murder of Charlie Kirk, even though we don't even know the political affiliation of the alleged murderer, as a way to crush any dissent, especially from the left, anything, and they'll, you know, call us Antifa and terrorists. And so that was why he wove that in, because he's telling them that they're going to have to go into US cities basically to fight US born terrorists, who's anybody on the left.
That's what it is. Only in recent decades did politicians somehow come to believe that our job is to police the far reaches of Kenya and Somalia, while America is under invasion from within. We're under invasion from within. No different than a foreign enemy, but more difficult in many ways because they don't wear uniforms. At least when they're wearing a uniform, you can take them out. These people don't have uniforms. But we are under invasion from within. We're stopping it very quickly.
Why does he seem like he's always trying to, like, in the most disgusting way, like Harvey Weinstein, the crowd? Like, he's always talks in this sort of lascivious, ugh, like he's so lechy and disgusting. What is it? What is that? Whatever.
I don't know. At this point, I mean, the people that look up to this guy are so gone that he's just his natural self in public. It's just when everyone kisses your ass all day and you've been a terrible person and you get rewarded for it with the second presidency and there's nothing on the line for you anymore. You can't have a third presidency. So he's just himself. This is him. It's who he is. He talks down to people.
It's so gross. I just can't stand it. I'm sorry, because I'm looking and I know, normally tomorrow is when we have the vid grid on, but people are talking about the Flotilla and everybody getting kidnapped.
Gotcha. I'll cue it up in the background.
All right. Okay. I'm going to show Hegseth. So we'll just sort of get a little glimpse of all of the just repulsive ways that they well, here. Oh, no, this is the last thing that we have of Trump talking to the generals. They better shape up.
Thank you very much, Pete. Great job you're doing, too. Fantastic job. I've never walked into a room so silent before. This is very... Oh, don't laugh. Don't laugh. You're not allowed to do that. You know what? Just have a good time. And if you want to applaud, you applaud. And if you want to do anything you want, you can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank. There goes your future. But you just feel nice and loose, okay? Because we're all on the same team. And I was told that.
So that's exactly what you were referring to. We're just playing it out of order. Was Hegseth came in first, we're going to show a couple of the clips, just the most preposterous speech to the generals, hoped that they would, greet the end of his speech with rousing applause. And it was silent. It was pretty amazing. All right. So here's a little of Hegseth talking to the fat generals.
It all starts with physical fitness and appearance. If the Secretary of War can do regular, hard PT, so can every member of our joint force. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test. And as the chairman said, yes, there is no PT test. But today, at my direction, every member of the joint force at every rank is required to take a PT test twice a year, as well as meet height and weight requirements twice a year, every year of service. Also today, at my direction, every warrior across our joint force is required to do PT every duty day. Should be common sense. I mean, most units do that already, but we're codifying it. And we're not talking like hot yoga and stretching. Real hard PT, either as a unit or as an individual. At every level, from the Joint Chiefs to everyone in this room to the youngest private, leaders set the standard. And so many of you do this already. Active, Guard, and Reserve.
Look, just from a physical fitness standpoint, working out every day is actually bad for you. So that's like anti-science in itself. If you want a fit unit, you need rest days. That's how your body recovers. So that's just stupid from that level.
But as you said, like, the generals are also supposed to have, they never talk about strategy, brains, defense, diplomacy, how to avoid war. It's all just, we're going to be the most lethal, as Kamala said. It's just all filled with hate and anger for everybody. And then this was his last bit, basically telling people to ignore their sworn duty to adhere to the rules of engagement.
We are preparing every day. We have to be prepared for war, not for defense. We're training warriors, not defenders. We fight wars to win, not to defend. Defense is something you do all the time. It's inherently reactionary and can lead to overuse, overreach, and mission creep. War is something you do sparingly, on our own terms, and with clear aims. We fight to win. We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy. We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters. That's all I ever wanted as a platoon leader.
So we're Israel now, is what we're saying. That's how we're going to fight our enemies. We're just going to drop bombs so we should just go right to nukes. We should just go right to nukes when there's an engagement.
I mean, that's pretty much it. And I know we always have this discussion. Yes, we are Israel. We are Israel. But yes, I mean, I know this isn't a surprise to anybody, from Iraq or Afghanistan or anywhere in the global South. But there's just, it's what we all know. They've just completely ripped the mask off of any intention of diplomacy or respect for other nations.
And everything that they're advocating for globally from the U.S. troops is going to be put onto us as well. If you can go farther with foreign citizens, well, now you can go farther with the protesters here, because look, they're really just lobbying for the foreign citizens, the Palestine's position. And next thing you know, we're all Hamas out of Hegseth's mouth, which we already are.
I mean, 100%. That is how they see us. They're making it very clear. And again, this is bipartisan. This is the way Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden talked about people protesting against a genocide.
And it also ties into the eugenics, these out of shape people. We don't respect you even if you're in the top position in this country because you're out of shape, which could affect, we have to spend more on your health care. So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's just incredible because there is this is ripe for a party of opposition to galvanize the masses and fight against this fascism. And instead, they are just softly propping it up with funding and by not rejecting any of this at all. How is it that we're in a government shutdown now? And I didn't even know until 4 days ago what Democrats were saying why they were against voting for this budget. Is it because you're putting National Guard in U.S. cities against the will of the governors and the mayors of those cities? Is it because you have masked agents kidnapping people off the streets? Is it because you have taken an axe to our First Amendment rights? What is it? Oh, it's because of health insurance subsidies. So we're once again back in the whole, Heritage Foundation, ACA, Obamacare giveaway to health insurance companies. But they haven't even made that.
And look, we just had Trump come out with his incredibly fascist list of who's the enemy now, relabeling terrorist organizations. To date, we have one person, I think, Ro Khanna, came out against it. But other than that, this is from Klippenstein, who broke that story.
Right.
He reached out to Schumer, no comment. Mark Warner, no comment. This is the biggest thing you should be fighting. This is one of the top lists of things you should be against. It should be front and center in this budget war right now. And instead, they're not even talking about it.
Not a word. Not a word. And Ken Klippenstein's so great because he just, he reminds me of Steven Semler, where he takes something and shows it so clearly, where the focus is. So he put this out, the search results for that list of, what is it? The National Security Presidential Memorandum, all the people who are terrorists in our country, anti-American, because they're either anti-capitalist or pro-climate or anti-genocide. The search for that list of fascist decrees against free speech has almost nobody interested or searching for it, because it's gotten so little publicity, even though it's the death of like the last aspect of the US that you could say is like what makes the United States. And instead, Jimmy Kimmel, it's all searches for Jimmy Kimmel, and all the libs came out to talk about the horrors of, you know, what was done to Jimmy Kimmel and the government. And it is, I mean, that's horrible, but like that affects 100 millionaire. That does not affect the vast majority of the people in this country against whom it will be used.
Yeah, and if you're an opposition party, oppose something. Just pick a couple things and oppose them. I mean, this is the end of free speech, as this guy's gaining incredible autonomy from all branches of government. You know, the public, your job as the opposition party, at least if you're powerless, inform, you know, that list of the graph of Jimmy Kimmel searches versus this issue is embarrassing. And it's also embarrassing that it's that low from the left media too, like not just the mainstream media. Like,
when you say the left media, who are you talking about?
I mean, I mean, like the bigger podcasts have to make this
right.
It's their job. Like, we're not going to change the world, us, but I'm just saying, like,
come on, our pup family. No, yeah, I mean,
but
yeah,
I mean, there's so much going on that we focus on other things, but this is really locally in America, domestically, the biggest thing going on. I mean,
it's really horrifying. I mean, we've seen so many, you know, Northwestern now rescinded the enrollment offer to hundreds of incoming students who refused to take this mandatory training about, you know, about anti-Semitism, which of course is just supporting Israel, not criticizing the genocide and, you know, condemning Hamas on October 7th. So that's Northwestern. At Cornell, this is what we were referring to before, a professor who's been teaching in Middle Eastern studies for 20 years and who I'm assuming is Jewish. I'm not 100% sure. But he taught at Cornell for more than 2 decades, claims the university is attempting to silence him as part of a broader crackdown on pro-Palestinian activism. In the article, he says that there was another, in his graduate class, students began approaching this professor with complaints that a graduate student in the Gaza indigeneity resistance class appeared to be recording them, possibly to gather their names and comments and intimidate them. We believe that a student came to the course for the sole reason of surveilling and potentially harming students in the class. That ended up proving itself to be true because multiple students came forward and shared their concerns with Professor Chavitz. One Palestinian student quit the class after telling him she felt upset and frightened. And they found out that that student was previously served in Israel's elite military surveillance agency, Unit 8200. And instead of that student, who was a former IDF member, so somebody who committed part of committing genocide in an apartheid ethno state, was allowed to record and intimidate other students. And it's the professor who is being removed because of his pro-Palestinian stance. So Democrats aren't talking about any of that. They're not talking about the flotilla. They're not talking about the fact that we are giving money and arms to a country that is blocking aid. That's against our laws. I mean, Biden did it too. But like, if you cared to try to remove this president or to stop him in any way, get on every news station, get in front of a camera, get in front of a microphone, and make your case about something. And instead, we get these, you know, not even sternly worded tweets. The Trump administration's threat to deploy troops in Portland is unlawful. Here's a thought. Focus on protecting the health care of the American people. Thanks. What a fighter.
Yeah, it's really wild how little they're fighting. Maybe we should show a couple clips of Jeffries and these guys just being pathetic. Here's Jeffries, because, you know, another issue is the GOP is blocking confirmation of one vote that is allegedly needed to release a lot of this Epstein stuff.
Right.
And if this Democrat gets sworn into office, allegedly we have the votes to get some of this stuff released. So here's him getting questioned on that.
So we hope and expect that Republicans will do the right thing. And if they don't, we're going to make clear to the American people why they are playing games as it relates to the swearing in of Rep-elect Grijalva.
How can you be at this point expecting the Republicans to do the right thing?
I mean,
there's no teeth behind that.
It's so ridiculous. But the fact that they all know, and we all know, right? Like they're all part of the same whatever, not duopoly, one party system, whatever. But like the fact that he can still get on camera and say those words, knowing how the base, and not even just like the left base, like truly the pussy hat moms, the wine drinking, the I've had it podcast lady, they're angry. Like it's not just the left. There's a reason the Democrats are even more unpopular than Trump, right? Like, and the Republicans.
Yeah.
And so he still gets there and says that. Is he going to have any donors left? Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, but the other issue is the shutdown. So here, you know, we're leaving out. So Jeffries is one of the leaders of the Democratic Party. The other one's Schumer. Here they are right before the shutdown, affirming, you know, that the GOP is going to do the right thing.
And I think for the first time, the president heard our objections and heard why we needed a bipartisan bill.
Aw, that was yesterday.
Got it.
Monday. Or no, that was actually, he said that Tuesday. The first time they met with him was Monday. And yeah, Trump wasn't meeting with them. He was just ignoring them. So get out. Like where is everybody? Because Democrats are almost half of of Congress and the Senate. Like there is a critical enough mass that they could do something. They could raise hell. They could bring the ruckus.
Well, take Bernie's billionaire, anti-billionaire, you know, movement.
Right.
Do an anti-fascist movement, you know, but you can't because you want the same surveillance state because we're the risk to you on the left, you know, from the left.
I mean, if
you did that, it would be massive. I mean, you would have sold out everywhere. It would be a news story constantly.
And instead you have Swalwell doing something like
All
this.
starts with physical fitness and appearance. If the Secretary of War can do regular, hard PT, so can every member of our joint force. It's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are.
So that's his big fight. That's from Swalwell's official account, just putting out a TikTok compilation, which is what we do. Like we're Yahoo podcasters who are like, look at this guy. He's horrible. Isn't that sort of funny, but also disgusting? But we're not in a seat of power.
Yeah, exactly. That's because we're powerless. We are mocking. We are using art and humor to express something. You have a possibility of doing something. You're taking this taco track, you know, Swalwell's from the whitest part of California, probably.
Yeah.
And he's taking after Newsom. You know, he's got political ambition. So he's like, oh, Newsom's dunking on him. I'm going to dunk too. I'm going to get myself in there and run for president again. I better start dunking on the guy.
It's just so stupid. Yeah. Okay. Tweet. Sorry. I thought that was what you were probably talking about before we had pulled that also. Yeah. I mean, like this, we're in truly scary times. You know, the other thing, well, did you want to show the awesome thing before we get to ICE? Because there is a group of community members, and I'm sure this is happening in lots of cities, but in Los Angeles, in greater Los Angeles, who are monitoring like Home Depot and big hardware stores where there are lots of day laborers to try to protect them, videotape if they get hauled off by ICE. And now those people, like US born citizens, many of whom are lawyers, who are human rights activists, are also getting just kidnapped by ICE. So there's plenty to talk about here in California, Eric Swalwell, not just, lazily. He probably clipped that compilation video from somebody else anyway, and then just retweeted it from here.
He
posted
did.
it,
or his staffer put it together or something,
It's totally.
But I do want
to. Yeah.
The only reason I want to show Oz off is like,
you're a big
and
fan
he's
of
not
it.
a good. He's not.
No,
he's not a
yeah.
progressive.
Right.
Don't vote for him.
Yeah.
But at least he's got the messaging right. You have to run against. You have to at least, as a Democrat, run on changing the party and changing. You have to point out the problems, and even if you're lying, that's your path to victory. I mean, people are too mad to take this Schumer Jeffries tact. It's not going to work. So I appreciated him being honest on whatever the hell podcast this was.
There's a deeper story here about corruption in American politics, which is something the Democratic Party needs to focus on, which is that Trump, in my view, is a symptom of the deeper corruption in our politics. Like, how is it that we have a demagogue who promises to tear it all down, elected twice to the presidency? It's in part because much of the American public has lost faith in our political system.
Totally agree.
And with just cause. Since Citizens United, this political system has been corruption on steroids. And that is a big part of why policy doesn't serve ordinary people. So as Trump poses this sort of radical threat to the rule of law and the Constitution, things that we have to protect, we can't just become mere guardians of the status quo. We have to be about change and reform. And money in politics is like the root of all of this. We have to focus on that. The vast sums of corporate and billionaire money in our political system, with or without Trump, are why ordinary people are so ill-served by elected officials and by Congress. We need to take up that mantle and run with it. And if we don't solve this problem, even once we put Trump back in the box in the midterms and once he's gone, the country will still be in deep trouble.
And
I'm
Lori
surprised he said that.
calls it. He is part of the guy.
Yeah.
He and who's the other?
The
black
Reverend guy.
Reverend.
Yeah, down in Georgia.
But they both promised if you elected them, you would get these $2,000 stimulus checks, which we did not get.
They owe us $600 more. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised he says that, because even just saying that puts him to the left of a majority of the Democratic Party. And anytime that they could put that on the platform, we're going to end Citizens United. What was the platform for 2024? Joy.
But see, this dude knows the messaging that needs to be told to the public to win. And I don't see any way they get away with not having a primary this time around. So, you got to come out as Bernie in 2028 if you're going to win.
Yeah.
It's going to be bullshit from 99% of them, including him, probably Reverend Warnock.
Yeah.
But that's the right messaging, at least.
Yeah. Which, I mean, again, I'm surprised he's even saying it, because it is the right messaging. It's what most of the voters hate Democrats. They hate the people who are representing them. And so he is, giving a little bit of sustenance, but at some point, he'll just, I tried. It's because of Manchin or Sinema or Fetterman, whatever. So they get to look like they're just the slightest bit to the left. They understand they're with us, and they're not.
Yeah. Well, in the 2028 primaries, they're all going to have permission from the donors to lie and attack the system and all that.
Yeah. Yes.
They're gonna, because they know, the facade is working. We'll just use this, get you in, you won't do shit. Then maybe we lose to the Republicans in the midterms. And that's ideal, because if we hold the presidency and they hold the Senate and Congress, nothing will get done. The status quo is preserved. That's really the core interest of the donors.
It is 100%, which is why I think that knowing things like what David Hunter NYC here is writing, like they are heavily funded by AIPAC. So when it comes time for the voting, the fact that they know what to say, the messaging that matters, and they figured it out. I don't care the things that they say. I only care about their actions and what they've done.
And look, if your biggest donor is going to be AIPAC again, AIPAC doesn't give a fuck about our economic stability in the country. They just care about one thing, which is Israel. So if you're right on that message, you can keep the money will keep flowing to you.
Yep. Oh my God. All right. Is there more Democrat or Republican stuff? We should just take a quick look so we know, just to go back to the fact that, I mean, this, what an enormous failure. This is from the New York Times Siena poll. Views on whether the Democrats should or should not shut down the government if their demands are not met. All respondents, 65% say they should not. And amongst Democrats, it was pretty evenly divided. Just, 47% to 43% thought that, yes, they should shut down the government. That is the messaging problem, right? If Democrats were running on anything and not on healthcare subsidies, like, God, give me a fucking break. Like, run on something that galvanizes people. We need Medicare for all, like every other industrialized country in the world. Run on that. Every time Hakeem Jeffries gets on and, why don't you believe that healthcare is a human right? Why do you believe some people should die because they aren't able to afford cancer treatments, but some people should be able to get a subsidy at their local clinic? Like, what's the difference between this? Like, why aren't people asking that question? But okay, they didn't even run on the subsidies. They didn't even scream that from the rooftops. They tweeted it 2 days ago. They didn't, they're not doing any. So of course, why would anybody say we should shut down the government? They could say, hey, if we shut down the government, then, we aren't going to be funding all of these National Guard and ICE agents. And then of course, Trump is going to come right in and be like, oh, no, they still get funded. And also Russ Vought is going to come right in and use this to fire a bunch more people. But then at least you've okay, so this is the Trump administration shutdown. This is the plan all along. They have not talked to us. We are trying to figure out a way to get these people to understand that the U.S. is supposed to stand for the First Amendment, the right to free speech and protest, and the media and the Fourth Estate. And, we all have civil rights. We can't just be kidnapped off the street. That would start a real conversation in front of people. And instead, they've just been doing mean tweets and calling him Taco.
Yeah, absolutely. And their main pushback is these subsidies, which are value. It's a lot of people that would be affected, right? Because they're going to basically lose their Obamacare subsidy for a few million people. But the void, so my point is, the Democrats' opposition to this is healthcare. So what does Trump do? Immediately he comes out with this drug plan, right? Lowering drug prices by America. I don't know what he called it. I forget what. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Pfizer. It's like it all goes to him, basically.
It's like first pricing for our nation kind of thing.
Right.
But it's another one of these things that kicks in years down the road. There's tariffs and there's tariff exemptions for some countries on this stuff. But Democrats aren't even attacking it. You should be attacking it. You should say, how are we supposed to believe the guy who removed the one good thing we did, which would lower 15 drug prices, for people on Medicare only, but they can't attack any of this stuff because they really want it all gone too. So all they got is they're hanging on this Obama thing, which feels like such old news-ish in a way. Like it's not.
It's so, I mean, and it was so insufficient. And obviously we all know it was the Heritage Foundation, Romney Care, health insurance company, right-wing plan. It is not healthcare, but we don't have a real media. Thank you, Teresa 273. We don't have a real media to call them out in corporate media. So these people can get on and talk about how Trump doesn't really want you to have healthcare. Well, neither do you. Like, nope. How many what, 18 million people Joe Biden threw off Medicaid? 18 million people. That's not a party that wants you to have health care. But like, if you don't have a fourth estate, then nobody knows. And they think that Trump is evil, and he is evil. But like, you think Jeffries and Cory Booker want you to have health care? No, of course not.
God, no.
I fucking hate these people so much.
I would go so far as to say the number one goal of Democrats behind the scenes is to make sure we don't get health care, because it's the number one goal of capitalism, is to stop us from getting health care. Because if health care gets detached from our jobs, we have a lot of power overnight.
Yeah, that's true. That is facts. Speaking of Stephen Semler, just a reminder, poverty and child poverty increased under Biden when he came in. It was, I mean, it's also disgusting that this would even be, you know, at almost 10% of the population, 10% of children living in poverty, or actually people. So that's the poverty rate and the child poverty rate, which went down with the whatever, the CARE Act, whatever it was, that then they decided not to fight to keep those child tax credits, or for the $15 minimum wage. And yeah, so then it went up to 13% of children are living in poverty in the richest country in the world. I mean, it's despicable. It's despicable. Where's the squad? Yeah. Where's the fucking squad?
Where are they?
Well, you know who's going to talk about it first? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Watch.
What a fucking world. You know, we just had Shama Swan on our last show, and I forgot to bring it up because she was talking about the nurses union. Someone commented, Teresa, who just joined, commented on the sickest part is nurses who punch down. They're all bootlickers in the most trusted occupation. Shame. And I agree. And it just takes me back to when Bernie was running and Medicare for All was front and center, the core issue. The National Nurses Union had Roseanne DeMoro, who was a true fucking fighter on our side.
Yep.
And now she's gone, and the nurses union is the weakest it's ever been. They have no power whatsoever, and they co-sign everything. And it is a fucking shame.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like every other union, leaders, not the rank and file, but the leaders who are really just
leaders,
there,
not the members.
Yeah, to discipline the rank and file and send them right back to the Democratic Party. It's all right. Do we want to is there any other stuff with I know we're going to get into ICE and Israel and Riyadh. Oh boy, we have a lot to do. So should we spin first?
This thing
always. All right.
Yes, please.
Here. Yes, please.
Yes, please. I need to crack a new beer.
Yeah, baby.
All right. I feel like this is a good chance to get us into the discussion on Riyadh, right? So let's start with Zach Woods.
I love watching your TikTok, which is next level. Clearly that's expressed by my 13-year-old son.
No, God, please, no, 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 no!
Guys, it's that special time of year. It's the Riyadh Comedy Festival. And all of your favorite comedians are performing at the pleasure of Turki Al-Sheikh. And he is the head of the entertainment authority over there. And he has so many people thrown in prison because they tweeted stuff he didn't like about the soccer team or whatever, that there's a wing of a prison nicknamed after him where they hang people by their heels from the ceiling. Now, there's a lot of drips, killjoys, and dweebazoids who are saying, they shouldn't do comedy over there because it's whitewashing a regime that just in June killed a journalist and killed Jamal Khashoggi and played a big role in 9/11. Shut up. Name one comedian who hasn't whored themselves out to a dictator. Sinbad in the 80s would go perform for dying Nazis hidden out in Argentina. Mr. Bean would do private shows for Idi Amin. Me and Bibi Netanyahu have collaborated. I pitched him a prank show called The West Bank, where it's hilarious. Like, people in masks show up and eject people from their homes, and they're terrified. They just traumatize these families, and then they can never come home. And it's been going on for years, but this season has been like action packed. And it's a prank show, but there's also a true crime element because it violates international law and people have been killed a lot. Let's not get our, moral panties yanked up, wedged high in our rumps. Human Rights Watch has been begging the comedians not to participate in the whitewashing of the horrors that are ongoing in Saudi Arabia. Ugh, what a cock block Human Rights Watch is for comedy. Let's have some fun, let's have some yucks, and let's not look too closely at anything. I'm a hypocrite too.
So that's great. He put that out about a week ago, and we've had it in the studio to show and then haven't. But this week, all of a sudden, a lot of people started speaking up about this disgusting.
I personally love it because, look, a lot of the guys going over there are people I've respected for a while, and fuck them. And what normally happens is there's solidarity among comedians, like we're all comedians.
Yeah.
But this is an issue that, like, it's okay to be a comedian and attack these guys because fuck them. And it's universally accept. I saw one guy on a podcast and he threw his wife under the bus. He's like, well, my wife said we needed the money and I had to take the money.
Who was that?
I'd have to see the list. I don't know.
Right.
It's not a guy I know by name.
Let me see. I think
People would recognize him.
All right.
He was joking, but he did throw her under the bus for it.
That's hilarious. All right. Well, let's just take a look. So this person, Atsuko Okatsuka, who was invited to be part of the Riyadh festival and rejected, said the money is coming straight from the Crown Prince, who actively executes journalists, people who with non-lethal drug offenses, bloggers, etc., without due process. A lot of the "you can't say anything anymore" comedians are doing the festival. They had to adhere to censorship rules to do it, and she posts content restrictions that were part of the contract. Artists shall not prepare or perform any material that may be considered to degrade, defame, or bring into public disrepute, contempt, scandal, embarrassment, or ridicule. So you can't do any of those things against A, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, including its leadership, public figures, culture, or people; B, the Saudi royal family, legal system, or government; and C, any religion, religious tradition, religious figure, or religious practice. Comedy, folks, let's hear it. So David Cross actually put out, I thought, a really good
on him.
Long statement. Yeah. I mean, it's very long. I don't know. Am I going to read the whole thing?
Up to you.
No, you don't want me to. I know you don't.
No, go for it. I can't.
No,
I can't see it.
I mean, it's really long. Well, let's see where we are in time by the end. Bill Burr, break my fucking heart. Bill Burr took to his podcast to give a detailed rundown of his experience last week in the Middle East, where he performed at the controversial Riyadh Comedy Festival. And in the article, he says, oh my God, that's a region where people were, it's, gosh darn it, portrait. I can't read past the thing that we've got there on there. All right, something of a region where people were, just like us, wanting live comedy, wanting to relax and have fun, and consuming a surprising amount of Western culture. It was great to experience that part of the world and to be a part of the first comedy festival over there in Saudi Arabia, Burr said. The royals loved the show. Everyone was happy. The people that were doing the festival were thrilled. The comedians that I've been talking to are saying, dude, you can feel the audience wanted it. They want to see real stand-up comedy. It was a mind-blowing experience. Definitely top 3 experiences I've had. I think it's going to lead to a lot of positive things.
Yeah. Oh, if you can't criticize the government, it is not going to lead to positive things. The best thing you could do is go over there and, okay, under the guidelines that you have there, you can rip our own government, which is great. But then these are evil people you're co-signing how bad our government is to, like leadership. I'm not talking about the people, but leadership.
Yeah.
So, I gave Bill Burr an out in the beginning. I was like, well, if you go over there and you shred them, then that can be justification for going over there, but you're not allowed to by contract. You know this.
What
So
would they have
fuck Bill
done, I
Burr. He's
wonder?
canceled. I'm not going to show Bill Burr ever again. Fuck Dave Chappelle.
It's disgusting.
Fuck, kudos to the guys that are out there ripping on all these other comedians, fellow comedians. They're they're class traitors for going after these guys.
Yep.
But fuck them. And kudos, like Shane Gillis, good for him. He's ripping these guys up.
Yeah, this is great. Here, we're going to show this.
Oh, do we have
You go to
Shane?
the Middle East soon.
What? Where? Why?
Saudi Arabia and UAE or Dubai.
Dubai?
I think I'm gonna pass.
Yeah. For the troops? Is it for the troops?
Not for the troops.
What?
It's for the Saudis.
For the Saudi princes?
Yeah, and everyone's like, yeah, you should do it. Everyone's doing it. It's like, for Saudis?
Yeah.
Weren't those the 9/11 guys?
Riyadh Comedy Festival, and here we go. Andrew Schultz, Aziz Ansari, Bill Burr, Jim Jeffries, Jimmy Carr, Joe Coy, Kevin Hart. Sam. We got people. People have been going, oh, how dare you go over there after they killed a reporter. That was the big one. There's been a reporter who they killed. One reporter was killed by the government. Unfortunate, but not a fucking hill that I'm going to die on.
We did get an offer to play.
I think I'm going to go.
You're going to go?
Well, I'm only
Where?
doing 2 days.
Where?
I'm going in and out.
Saudi Arabia.
Just to get that
I would do
paycheck.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, why
I'm
not?
doing it. 2 days.
I wouldn't do gay material there.
Yeah.
At all.
Weird.
Sam and I are both doing gigs in Saudi Arabia, so Sam's days are numbered. So I'll be there, and I will join in with the Saudi people if it means I get out of there alive.
But at the same time, almost no entertainment money comes from a good place.
No,
but
it's like, do you want to take it from them, or do you want to take it from someone who's probably assaulted millions of people?
I don't really have strong feelings about the Saudi Arabia Comedy Festival. I do get the fact that they perpetrated 9/11.
I'm not doing it.
That is good. I admire that.
Then they doubled the bag, and I was like,
sorry, just go and Google big. Who really did 9/11?
I'm not doing it.
Just be like, okay, fine, never mind.
Yeah.
They doubled the bag, the princes?
It was a significant bag.
What?
Yeah, but I'd already said no. I took a principled stand.
Good for him. I mean, Jim Jeffries, that makes, I'm so sad about so many of those people. I've loved some of those comedians. Jim Jeffries, dismissing the fact that they dismembered Jamal Khashoggi. Why would he think it was okay to laugh at that? That's not even a funny joke. That's just being a total asshole.
Yeah, and as you can see, nobody had a justification other than it's a lot of money.
Yeah, big
that's
bag.
it.
It's like
And the guy that was in that
$1.6 million.
video, the first one who took the money, which is the guy on the bottom left here, who I still don't know his name.
Mark Norman. Mark Norman.
All right,
Yeah.
it's the last time I'm going to say his name the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Just fuck him entirely.
Yep.
He threw his wife under the bus. He said the same thing. He said he was on a podcast. He's like, well, they offered me all this money, and the guy's like, there's a lot of bad stuff. And he's like, well, I said no, and then they doubled it. Then my wife said, you better take that money,
I mean, and there's Pete Davidson. His father was killed on 9/11. He's that's a lot of his material comes from his deep pain of his father being killed.
Yeah, I mean, somebody on this list, because of the public pressure, is going to go over there and not get the money, probably. And maybe it's Bill Burr. Maybe Bill Burr goes off over there, but it wasn't his plan. He was never,
No, I think it's done though.
I'm just saying.
It didn't
It's already
happen.
done?
Yeah, that's what the Bill Burr statement.
It's
he already
done?
went. Yeah, he
I
went.
did not realize it was over. Oh, fuck this
He went
guy.
to this part of a region where he's like, oh, it's one of the top 3 experiences of my life.
Fuck him entirely.
Disgusting. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else on here. Whitney Cummings.
So it's not over. So it's now
Joe
through
Coy.
October 6th.
Yeah,
No.
sorry,
So
but
some
Bill
people
Burr
have
says
not.
he already did it. His was already done. Yeah, Kevin Hart.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Louis C.K., Andrew Schultz.
I mean, fuck Louis C.K. anyway.
What'd you say? Yeah.
I said fuck Louis C.K. anyway. I saw him live and he's
Tom
hilarious,
Segura.
but after his jerking off in front of people stuff, no.
He used to date a friend of mine. I saw him live at Carnegie Hall.
Oh yeah, I saw him live before he'd really blown up. So it was a small
really?
little venue.
I mean, I used to love him also, but man, that is reprehensible because it's not just performing in a country that's ruled by this despotic regime. It's actually being paid by the regime and forced to adhere to a conduct code, right? Like
exactly. It's the capitulation to the code that is the biggest problem to be.
Mark Maron, should we just like show a couple of other principled people?
Yeah,
Mark Maron had a good.
And look, I don't even like Mark Maron. I know people love him. I don't like him. I don't find him funny.
Yeah.
I appreciate the honesty on every level from him.
Yeah.
Regardless of my take on his comedy.
I don't really know his stand-up, but I like him on a couple of the shows that he's on. The Stick. Come on, The Stick's really good. All right.
There's a Riyadh Comedy Festival. I don't know if you heard about that. This is true. There's a Riyadh, Saudi Arabia Comedy Festival. I mean, how do you even promote that? You know, like from the folks that brought you 9/11, 2 weeks of laughter in the desert. Don't miss it. I mean, the same guy that's going to pay them is the same guy that paid that guy to bonesaw Jamal Khashoggi and put him in a fucking suitcase. But don't let that stop the yucks. It's going to be a good time. Full disclosure, I was not asked to perform at the Riyadh Comedy Festival, so it's kind of easy for me to take the high road on this one. Easy to maintain your integrity when no one's offering to buy it out, you know.
Yeah, Gianmarco Cerezi also making the rounds in opposition.
Is that the guy who has the podcasting thing gig on the left?
Yeah, and we
just saw his name there. I just saw his name. So he's the alleged like new Rogan of the left who came over from the right wing, formerly sort of Republican, right?
No, I don't think he was.
No. Never mind. You're talking about somebody on the good side of this issue.
Yeah, Gianmarco Cerezi.
Yes.
We showed a clip of him doing. Now I can't even remember what he was doing.
He's been great on it.
Yeah, he was. Jesus, we just showed on. What day is today? On Sunday. What is my problem? My brain so bad. But yeah, he's been really good on lots of stuff.
So right below Dave Chappelle, that's the guy I'm referring to, who's the lefty podcaster now, who's doing all the, like, he formerly was Republican, but now he's a reasonable lefty. He likes Zoran, the guy with the mustache.
Andrew Schultz.
Andrew Schultz.
Yeah.
So Andrew Schultz is over there, the guy that's supposed to be like the Joe Rogan on the left now, sort of.
No. Oh God, no. I mean, he's doing that show with Charlemagne Lagarde also in The Flagrant. And they'll say some stuff like, like they'll say something pro Mamdani and be like, I mean, his ideas are crazy and I'm not a socialist, but that's what we need. Like that we need, like, he doesn't have any real ideology. Because
I'm not saying he does.
Trump? But yeah, but I mean, he's not like.
But he leans left with all of it, and it's the perfect sort of counter to Rogan. And I'm sure he's getting Democratic Party money for his positions, even if he's pro Mamdani.
You think so?
I think so. I don't think this guy blew up out of nowhere. He's not good. He's not funny.
Yeah, although I mean, you might be totally right. But like he and Rogan are friends. He's friends like. That whole group of podcast bros are, I mean, I don't know. I would be surprised if he was getting DNC money, but maybe he is. I don't know. But anyway, he's like a Rogan kind of guy, and he's friends with all of these people also. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's an anti-Rogan, but he's sort of the left's version because he stays pretty centrist.
Right.
They attack the party a little bit, they're honest about it a little bit, but they're still like, you got to vote blue. They're going to be those guys.
Yeah. Although he was a Trump guy. I know. It's crazy.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's what they.
And now he's a, what's his name? OBS guy. Whatever.
Yeah. As Kimmy says, he's basically libertarian, but he's libertarian left, which is what the Democratic Party thinks the country is, sort of. Like I don't know. Fucking mess. Is he a free thinker? I don't know.
But
he's there. So fuck him is the point.
Oh my God. Yeah. 100%. And I'm actually most impressed by Shane Gillis, because Shane Gillis is like part of this crowd. He's on these people's podcasts all the time. I mean, it's so pathetic that like to speak out is some brave act of courage, but I am impressed that he did.
Yeah, no, because look, Shane Gillis walks around with the worst people on earth and just laughs at them. That guy who does all the racist stuff, and they make fun of, they have comedians on missing an arm, and then they all mock the person for their disability. And
what?
The guy that spoke at Trump's thing that got a lot of backlash, he has a show where he has comedians on all the time. But they also bring up amateur comedians.
The Tony guy, Kill Tony.
Tony guy, the Tony, Kill Tony. Yes. So Gillis relates with Kill Tony a lot.
Yeah.
He laughs at all the inappropriate shit as well. And yet this guy took a big stance on it. But it's a good stance for your career long term, and he's blown up now. So I don't think
he's great.
Entirely necessarily
Xander's favorite comedian, which made me happy. And we had a clip of him like 2 weeks ago, but then we ran out of time. But it was him talking about John Brown and what a cool dude he was. He was like educating somebody on slave and like revolts and like the few good white people who like led revolts and stuff. Yeah. All right.
No, usually when you look at even his racist jokes or whatever he's joking about, the tone tells you he gets what the right position on these things should be most of the time. Right.
Yeah.
He's just very bold in talking about it. He's like Chappelle without his bullshit excuses. He's actually kind of like deeper than Chappelle.
Yeah. Yeah. Chappelle's made a career out of saying he's been canceled.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. Okay. Let's should we spin and then
Sure. I think we just got saved though. Thank you for saving us. If that's what you're doing.
Hallelujah.
Let's do it.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. All right. Spin that wheel. Oh, gotcha.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, baby.
All right. I gotta look. I think we have one more. Do we? Well, we have two. We have a George Carlin could be, and then we also have a sandwich delivery guy evading ICE, which is kind of funny. Yeah, because we didn't even get to ICE. I don't know, but what do you think? Or we could go a totally different way and do a pup because we haven't done any pups, and we can just call an audible because we can do it. Oh no, you're muted. Oh my fucking God. One for pup. Two. Fuck. Okay. We are going to do, this is, what I can't, Pat, I'm trying to, because I'm realizing also that I need to add these two just in case, because we need to inject a little more fun in here also. Are you here now? You're not here. All right, we're gonna do dog farts because that's where we live. I was hoping to save this for the shit show, but it's taking too long to get a couple of other ones in there. Here we go. Oh, hey.
Alternate. Do I sound okay?
Yeah, you sound pretty good.
All right,
so wait, did Mossad get you or what happened?
I think they got me.
Somebody mentioned, and I'm sorry because now I can't remember who it was. I think it was Justin that in the first part of our interview with Matthew Solomon, you didn't cut out at all, and that maybe it was because we weren't talking
And then
Israel.
they got me.
And then they got you.
Of
All
course.
right, let's take a look at some dog farts. That's always funny. Sit.
away. Smile. That was fart. You wanna go eat? Come on. Oh my God.
That's quite possibly a truth to tweet. I don't know. I think we're all sort of probably looking at a bunch of the same videos, but I can't remember. But if it was, thank you. We will always think of you with that one. That's a good one. You're back, Pat?
I guess. How's the mic sound?
It sounds
Am I
really
passing?
good for me.
Okay.
Yeah. Dog farts are funny. I kind of feel like we need something else fun. Or should we just, what should we go to? What do you want to go to?
Oh, are you saying you want some more fun?
I don't know.
Well, let's listen to the comedian. What's his name? Ahmed Weinberg?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good.
Let's roll with that. We'll just,
all right.
It's just joy night. Joy night at the end here.
I love watching your TikTok, which is next level. And clearly that's expressed by my 13-year-old son.
No! God, please, no! No!
My name's Ahmed Weinberg. That's my real name. My name's Ahmed Weinberg. That's fucked up. That's my human name. My dad's a Jew who converted to Islam. He's the only one in the world. Fucking did it, dude. We got him. I mean, he's still Jewish. You know, he's still Jewish in his heart. It's always, he's just Jewish. He's Muslim, but he's very Jewy about it. Like, he's a very Jewy Muslim. He'll fast for Ramadan, but like just till noon. You know, he's like, I'm gonna eat. We're like, yeah, go for it, Jeff. Do your thing. My mom was raised Irish Catholic, and she converted to Islam too. That's how they met. They were just the two white people in the mosque, and they just locked eyes. They were like, I guess we have to. You know, let's make a weird kid. Let's make a Ahmed Weinberg. That's my fucking name. Dude, the answering machine in my house growing up was Assalamu alaikum, you've reached the Weinbergs. Please leave a message. Nobody left a message ever. My entire life.
How are you doing, Pat?
I'm good. I was just checking VidGrid to see if we had any updates on what's going on there, because I saw somebody said there were 13 boots.
Macarius said that there were a bunch that had been intercepted.
Excuse me, 13 boats intercepted.
Yeah, and that they're trying to sink some other ones.
And I think they're more than 50, if I'm correct, right? Something around that neighborhood.
Yeah, I think so. And
I know they have directives to just keep going. So no matter, the other boats are told, once you're captured, keep going. Like, don't stop to deal with the boats. Let them get captured and kidnapped illegally from the international waters.
Yeah. And Spain and Italy have abandoned them.
Both cowardly fucks. The whole point here is this is not a show for, you know, like putting on a watermelon hat or something. This is this is the biggest thing happening outside of our government right now.
Yep.
And the risk to the people on the boats is huge, but that's also the value in that if Israel chooses to do something damaging to these people, on these boats are international, they're like politicians from tons of countries are on these boats. So it is an act of war to attack these people. Kidnapping also, but if they get attacked, and so to pull the defense of them,
it's disgusting.
It's
absolutely disgusting. Okay. should we?
Okay, so
Yeah.
if you want, I can put it on screen for just a second.
Yeah,
just
you want to see? Yeah, sure.
See what's going on. Let's go. Remove. It won't let me. Before
working?
presenting, remove other media streams from the stage.
Oh,
Is there?
Yeah. All right.
Oh, the wheel was on.
It's
Got
off. Yeah.
Get some audio.
Mentioned Ashdod there, Nida. The Israelis have been telling the flotilla boats to head to the port of Ashdod to offload the humanitarian aid, and then they will transfer it to Gaza. But should we believe the Israelis about what will actually happen to the aid?
Well, the main reason we have a flotilla is because we have an Israeli blockade that has been ongoing in Gaza for more than 18 years. And since the war started, we've been seeing how much restriction Israel has imposed on Palestinians and aid trucks from, that are not being allowed to enter. A trickle of Gaza's needs is entering right now. We're talking about dozens of trucks, if that, and we have been talking and comparing that to more than 500 trucks that used to enter Gaza per day. When we talk about these small numbers that are entering, and there's a vast need. This is what triggered these activists to come from more than 40 countries to try and bring aid to a much needed place. But let me say that this is a symbolic aid. They're bringing baby formula and some aid, but they're not sure that this is going to be hardly sufficient, but they're trying.
Okay. I know that's old coverage.
Yeah.
So
all right, let's because I think tomorrow there'll be more information about that, and we can kind of talk about the 20-point peace process. I thought it might be interesting just for a short end segment to talk about this newest study, which we've all known for such a long time, but another study has just come out about COVID. Long COVID risk for children doubles after a second infection, the study finds. New research provides evidence that COVID reinfections can increase the risk of long-term health consequences, which of course we have known for 4.5 years now. And in fact, this is in the UK, this is a human rights advocate, Sangeetha Iyengar, a UK barrister, talking about the decision very early on that the risk of reinfecting children was worth it just to get the economy back up and running.
Even once the physical harm to children was known about by the scientific community and by government, the risks of long COVID were either minimized or ignored. The final words of the Impact film were, "We shouldn't sacrifice children." In striking contrast, the Cabinet Office in the summer of 2021 referred to the strategic risk of accepting that the bulk of long COVID cases during the release of restrictions would be younger, unvaccinated individuals. A four-decision paper produced at the same time by Michael Gove, entitled Planning for Periods of High Prevalence, similarly stated that cases of long COVID in children would, and I quote, rise rapidly. The evidence shows that government policies knowingly allowed children and young people to acquire COVID and develop long COVID.
And yet here is Sky News mocking Violet Affleck for her testimony in front of the UN last week.
Not to be outdone on the woke stakes, Jennifer and Ben's ultra-woke daughter, Violet, popped up at the United Nations this week. Not that you would have necessarily recognized her, terrifying the kiddies about long COVID and urging new mask mandates.
Here's what we know about SARS-CoV-2. It is airborne, floating and lingering in the air. One infection can result in disabling damage to almost every cell in the body, from the brain and heart to the nerves and blood vessels. Every subsequent infection increases the risk of long COVID and places people who already have it in greater danger. Here's what we don't know, is what it does to reinfect children.
Yes, trust a Hollywood brat to come up with COVID, the sequel. Her parents must be mightily impressed.
First of all,
she came up with it, dude. She came up with it.
She wasn't asking for mask mandates. She was advocating for clean air. Like, we're supposed to have clean water. And like, that's some woke thing. Nobody I know talks about COVID. It's not woke. They all left that behind. It's just so disgusting. It's so disgusting. Anyway, I got my Novavax yesterday, and the Novavax Finder seems to be up and running pretty well. So I'm just letting people know. I am also not feeling great because I don't know if it's from the shot, which sometimes happens, which makes me feel like, okay, my immune system's kicking in, which is good, but also grabbed onto a thought at like 4 a.m. and then just couldn't sleep. So
if you have a sick response right after getting injected, the next day, basically, that is a good sign that your body has taken and is responding appropriately to it. So that's great.
Yeah.
That's really, it's great you're sick, Lila.
No, but I mean, it does always make, because the first, when we were all first in 2021, it was like, you would hear these horror stories of people going to huge Thunderdomes and doing the drive-through. And then a nurse at one of them would be like, oh, we didn't empty out the whole amount of the shot, and this one went back, whatever, all these different things. I was like, oh, okay, I just need a reaction to it so I know I got a real one. But yeah,
well, I mean, personally, I get sick every time. I have not taken Novavax yet, but I get sick every time, and I'm happy I do, because I know this is working.
Well, Josh got it also at the same time, and he's not, and I didn't. So with Novavax, apparently, and we're getting this from community members who are either epidemiologists or disseminating information. We're not getting it from the government, either from Biden's CDC or Trump's, obviously. But I think that if you switch over to Novavax, you need to do just the way you did with the mRNA, where you get one and then 6 weeks later, the booster.
Yeah. You're supposed to. Absolutely. And they still, there are no studies anymore on this stuff, but in the beginning, they advocated for, the best defense was having had a variance of different shots, right? So they studied, you had Pfizer and what was the other one? Jesus Christ, I can't even. Moderna. So if they showed that the best defense was people who had Pfizer and Moderna, and also had COVID also,
Right.
So, but the big point about getting Novavax, the studies show it's the most, it's the best vaccine, basically. It offers you the most defense
for the longest.
And it's not mRNA. So people that are weird about mRNA, which you shouldn't be, but if you're worried about that, this is a traditional vaccine approach.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. All right. We are going to get to ICE and Israel tomorrow, because we're back tomorrow, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you to Matthew Solomon. Please check out Reimagining Safety if you get a chance. The links are in the description on YouTube. It is such a fantastic documentary. And
it's an easy watch. He bounces between some interesting people that all have different stories to tell from different perspectives. And I think it's a really good foundation for people to understand why defund is so important.
Yeah, it's great. So thank you to him. And they are kidnapping people on the water, international waters. So all eyes on the flotilla. We have to magnify their voices. And they have killed over 270 journalists in Gaza. And we are getting so little footage from them, because they can barely survive the, ramped up siege, attack, genocide on them. It's just so devastating. So cheers to anybody trying to do anything to make this stop. Thanks to all of you. We will see you 6:30 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow night. Love you guys. Cheers. You're pushing the button.
I'm pushing the button.
Yeah.
Bye.
I'm from East Turkestan.
I'm from Palestine.
I'm from Turkey.
I'm from Somalia.
I'm from Poland.
I'm from Syria.
I'm from Afghanistan.
I'm from Egypt. I'm from Iraq. I'm from South Sudan.
I'm from Mali.
I'm from Algeria.
I am from Nigeria. I'm from Cameroon. I'm from Serbia. I'm from Lebanon.
I'm from Morocco.
I'm from Asia.
I'm from Iran.
I'm from Yemen.
From Pakistan.
I'm from England.
I'm from Sudan.
And I stand with Global Sumud Flotilla.
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 And I stand with Global Sumud Flotilla. And I stand with Global Sumud Flotilla. And I stand with Global Sumud Flotilla.
And I stand with Global Sumud Flotilla.
And I stand with the Global Sumud Flotilla.
And I stand with 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 Global Sumud Flotilla.